Now we have changed the culture, ladies and gentlemen. There are some kids in the world today, because we've sanitized education so much, that if you shake up a can of soda in front of them, they know nothing.
Welcome to the School Culture and Climate Show. Hosted by Steve, a passionate advocate for positive school culture and climate, together with Megan. Join us as we explore strategies, share success stories, and provide actionable tips to improve the culture and climate in your school.
Hey, everyone. We are back yet again for the School Culture and Climate Show. My name's Steve Spangler, also known as Stand Tall Steve.
And I'm Megan 𝙤𝙤.
All right. And this is a good one. We're excited about this episode. I even call it a special episode because we have a special guest. You're getting double dose of Steve here today. We have the one and only Steve Spangler. Steve Spangler,
Oh my gosh.
welcome.
You guys are so kind. I appreciate it along the way. That we can't get insurance on this property. I don't know why, but we've been denied insurance. Hey, do people actually, do they watch this? Do they listen to it? Stand Tall, how do they consume this?
They consume it in two different ways. They have the podcast, they can listen to it.
Yep.
And then, of course, on the Stand Tall YouTube channel, we have it there as well. And then what I do is I usually take whatever the information that we're chatting about, we throw it into a blog, so that way they can get some information as well about all the great things that we're going to talk about today.
Well, if for those people who were just listening, you didn't get the video, actually, I just appeared on set. So there was a handkerchief and they showed both sides and we whipped it away and I appeared. So that's why there is such the frenzy of excitement. And that's kind of how that goes. Hey, guess what? Can I just tell you, first of all, I don't think you've had any other guests that are in a kitchen. Look at this. Here it is. Here's my kitchen set right here. We're actually on the set of our television show, 𝙈𝙖𝙨. So this is where we shoot that. This is also where we shoot a lot of the segments that we do for NBC. So for the last 25 years, every week the red light comes on. So if I can't get in studio or we have a little pandemic or something, this is where we stood for about 18 months and created content just solid over that time. We can talk all about that later, but thank you so much for having me on the show.
Oh, that is the best, man. Hey, and it's good that you seem like you're like in a home. It's so relatable, and that's kind of the way that you do things, and it's great. So we're going to spend some time together, hopefully get to know you better, have some understandings about, what it is and the effect that you're having in education, specifically related to this show with culture and climate. That's the main focus that we really dive into here. But before all of that, I know that everybody wants to know, how did this come about? Now, you've done some amazing things. You've been on Ellen many times. You have things on the internet, your social media sensation. How did this all come about to begin with, man?
You're so kind to ask, but before we do that, can we take a break if you don't mind? I like to just start the day with a little bit of this Waterloo. So you wouldn't happen to have a can of soda where you are, would you? See, prior to the show, ladies and gentlemen, I just asked him in the show notes, would you just happen to have an unopened can of soda? Look at that for our viewing audience. Root beer in one hand, Dr. Pepper in the other hand, a kind of a lemon lime here. All right, so show it to the camera. Show that it's not opened. Show it to the camera. It's not opened. Good job. So if I asked you to open the can right now, would you do that? Don't do it just yet, but you could do that, correct?
I could do that if I need to, yeah.
Okay,
Totally.
hold the camera out. Hold the can out and now shake it like this. Shake it. Just do it. Shake it. Come on. Come on. Really give it a good shake. All right. So now we have changed the culture, ladies and gentlemen. The environment is different, right? Now, if I asked you to open that up right now, here's the sad thing. There are some kids in the world today, because we've sanitized education so much, that if you shake up a can of soda in front of them, they know nothing. That's just like, well, what? They don't know that if you ever find a kid like that, that's called child abuse. You take them to an abandoned field, you buy them a 6-pack of your favorite soda, and you let them just shake it up and then pop those open. They explode. Why do they explode? Megan, your science question for the day. Why does the can explode?
Well, there's too much bubbles in there. It's got to go somewhere.
Good. I like that. The old carbon dioxide effect right there. Steve, have you ever seen somebody teach you to do this? Tap, 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 tap the top?
Yep.
Right?
They tap it. Yep.
I'm here today on your podcast. The only information they'll take back, if this is the only thing, they'll remember it for the rest of their life. This does nothing. Tapping on the top of the can is absolutely not. And some of you are like, that guy's a liar. So go ahead, go to your backyard, shake the can up, tap, 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 and pop it open. It will explode everywhere. The bubbles are actually on the side of the can. If you could see inside the can, they've all collected on the sides. When you open it up, those bubbles on the sides get bigger and push the liquid out. So now watch this. Ready? Take your finger and snap the can. I'll show you what it looks like. Just snap the can all the way around. Do it right now. Snap it. Keep snapping. You should not open this can for a week, ladies and gentlemen. All right, are you ready? The bubbles should be at the top. You got to trust me on this one. You should be. All right, ready? Push back from your console. Push back from your console. 3, 2, 1, pop it open. Nice. Get out of here. Look at this. Watch this. The bubbles are still there, ladies and gentlemen. We just controlled the situation from beginning to end. Ta-da. No, is there any applause? Please, ladies and gentlemen, just a little applause. Thank you. No, thank you. Thank you. Tip your, okay. Here, I didn't mean to jump past your question, but Mr. Bowler, right. Ms. Megan, listen to this. Everybody knows what a podcast interview sounds like. Welcome to the guest. Couple key points. The guest does an amazing thing. We'll share 5 points. We'll have a little poem at the end, sing kumbaya, and we're done. Nobody expects you to start with, could you shake up a can of soda? So we completely change the game from the very start. There are people who are listening right now going, I think I need to get on this Stand Tall YouTube because I got to see what just happened. Truly, we shook up a can of soda and I told you to do something you've never done before, and that is open the can, but you snap the sides instead of the top. Guess what? It is the secret to the engagement effect. So I'm happy to talk about it and bring it all back up. But when it comes time to talk about what just happened, this is the engagement effect. It changed everything from the outset. Hopefully made your viewers lean in a little bit and go, wait, this one is going to be different, and I wonder why. So that's how we start. So thanks for getting the can of soda. Now you have something nice to enjoy while we're chatting away. Fair enough?
I love it. I love it. I love that. And
okay, go back to your original question.
Well, the original question is, how in 2 words, how did you get into this? How does it even begin?
Parole officer. So this is part of the community. So here's a bunch of different ways to start. I'll give you the absolute Cliff Note version. Yes. I grew up in a family of professional magicians. I know, take a great big deep breath. What's the difference between a magician and a pizza? Answer, pizza can feed a family of 5. So my mom and dad had to have real jobs along the way, but my dad was a professional magician, not just like I like to do card tricks. He's really good. Good enough that when I was, he had a real corporate job. He was a chemical and electrical engineer, so the guy was super smart. But he ran in the 1970s a little magic school, and that little magic school attracted people like, let me see. Yeah, David Copperfield would come to the magic school, and Doug Henning and Mark Wilson, and these are names, and Harry Blackstone Jr. You look, and I throw the names out because anybody who's listening that goes anything about magic goes, wait a second, Copperfield must have only been 25, 26 years old. And the answer is that's correct. So he was coming to dad, asking him for help, working on his ABC magic specials. And so I grew up in this environment of teaching. My dad ran the magic school, and so I sat in on all the classes. Hanging out with magicians is the craziest thing, because if you can imagine a group of teachers getting together to solve a problem, just anybody gets together and you mastermind, speakers, professional speakers. There's a problem, we mastermind, and we come up with a solution. Here's the problem for magicians. I just got a gig for the Lakers. We've got to make the cheerleader disappear and in its place produce a tiger. And everybody around the circle goes, okay. And then they just start coming up with solutions. It's nobody ever says, wait, you can't turn a lady into a tiger. Everyone's like, well, you can turn a lady into a tiger. Now, here's what we have to do. Small things like in the secret box, how do you keep the tiger from the lady so she doesn't get killed? Those are the simple things that magicians are thinking of. Do you see what I'm talking about? Yeah. I was put into a mindset early on going, oh, all these things are possible, just reverse engineer it. And so the magic was, and the reason I mention is because it was a huge part of this upbringing this idea of showmanship. When I was 5 years old, show and tell at kindergarten was not just bring your G.I. Joe doll or a car and show it to the kids. We had practiced magic. There were magic tricks that we practiced. And so every Friday when it was show and tell time, everyone knew little Steve is going to do a trick. And I would practice the trick. And I think I got that positive feedback. I had times, can you imagine going home 5 years old going, bad gig, mom and dad, just the audience didn't respond. I don't know what it was along the way, but that shaped it. And to say that I fell in love with teaching, I think I loved the art of teaching magic more than I loved the art of doing magic. I still to this day love performing, but for those people who have seen me before, I don't do really magic in the show, because I think it gets in the way of the message of what I'm trying to do. Because sometimes teachers might think, well, it's just a gimmick. The gimmick is I learned how to present in such a way. I understood the power of presentation. And when it comes to engagement, nothing could be more powerful. So long story short, that's how it, and then all of a sudden you take a teaching assignment and, well, you know, one thing leads to the next. There's exploding pumpkins, you're in trouble, and you got a TV show. So that's pretty much, we jumped forward. So that's it.
All right. I love it. That's awesome. Go ahead, Meg.
Well, I was just thinking that we're performers all the time in education. As a teacher, we're constantly trying to get these kids engaged in something, but it doesn't always have to be exploding pumpkins or, you know, a can of soda to get them engaged into what you're trying to teach them. And I guess my question for you is, Steve, is what are some good ways for educators that are just feeling kind of overwhelmed in what they're teaching and all the things that they have, that they just need to bring a little bit of life back into their classrooms with that?
It's hard for all of us. And I wish there was just a single answer which you just go, oh, let me prescribe this and take this pill and everything works. I don't think it does. I think every teacher has their own style. I think it's changing it up. What would the kids not expect? Harry Wong, do you remember Harry Wong? Harry Wong, classroom management, the amazing Harry Wong, who unfortunately passed away here fairly recently. Harry had this wonderful story about talking about the first day of school. He stood outside his classroom wearing a coat and tie, welcoming each of the kids to his classroom. And they, oh, well, that's good. And on day 2, guess what he did? Welcomed them to the classroom. And on day 39, welcomed them to the class. And every single day, those kids expected him to be standing out there saying, thank you for coming to school today. That's different than anything else those kids would get. Does that jump charge them? Maybe a little bit. Maybe it's just that expectation that, when I show up here, something different is going to happen, right? This is a little bit different. And I love that idea of getting them off the routine. You know, sometimes as a teacher, it's so easy. We joke and go, laminated the lesson plan, so I don't really have to deal with that for the next 5 years. Well, no. Well, what would happen if it was different? If you showed up and you went, you guys, holy moly, I was on TikTok. Are you guys on TikTok? And you see the kids go, no. Okay, you are. You're lying. You're on TikTok. Look at what I found out on TikTok. There's a guy on here who dropped Mentos into a bottle of Diet Coke. Have you ever seen that? And the kids are like, oh, yeah. I've seen that. 2 techniques there, Megan. Number 1, I included something that connected to them, like, wait, my teacher watches this? Number 2, of course you know about Mentos and Diet Coke, but if you feign ignorance, it is a strategy. It's not a cure-all. It's not a trick. But when you feign ignorance and go, have you guys seen that thing with the Mentos and you drop it into, I think, orange juice, and a kid goes, no, Diet Coke. And you go, oh, yeah, that's right. It was Diet Coke. How do you know about that? Oh, very interesting, right? And the last little part is then you could just do that and you go, well, so what? I got their attention for a couple minutes. Now it's back to the grind. But what if that became part of the culture? What if part of that became like, what do you guys know about this? Have you seen this before? Oh, yeah. So now all of a sudden they become part of designing the experience. They don't know that in the back room you have 5 bottles of Diet Coke. They don't know that you have a whole bunch of rolls of Mentos. They don't know that you're going to do this and you're going to actually go outside, rest it against the brick wall and drop in 3 Mentos, 5 Mentos, 7 Mentos, 9, and you're going to count the wet bricks on the way up. They don't know that you've designed this in your head because you're going to allow them the space to connect, to allow them to be a part of this, where it makes it feel like nobody's ever seen this before. I got to show up tomorrow because weird stuff happens when they know everything that's going to happen. It's like us when a speaker stands up in front and says, I have 10 points and I'll be covering each of the 10 points. Point number one, and you see the slide and you see that he reads every single point of the slide. You go, good gosh, I'm going to go through this 10 times. He already gave you the 50 minutes that are ahead. There's no engagement there. It's just putting in the time until we're done and we get to clap a little bit. So that's what I would kind of say. And the last little part that we'll pick up on is how important it is to be more interested than interesting. And that's not just from a classroom, Steve and Megan. That's for life in general. It's one of those things I've tried to teach my boys, thanks to a really good friend by the name of Mark Sharonbrock. He's the one that brought the point to me early on. He said it was Barbara Jordan. Dale Carnegie seems to be in that mix as well. But I'll say it one more time. It's more important to be interested than interesting. Have you ever been to one of those parties, like those dinner parties where you ask a question of somebody and then they talk for the next 30 minutes and they never once ask you a question? And you're done at the end of the night. I can get back in the car and look at my wife and go, well, how did it go? I don't know. I just listened to somebody for about 3 hours today and they never once asked a question back. So there really wasn't a dialogue. If I'm more interested than interesting, you open the door for a connection.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's huge. I think that's huge. Thinking of being an educator and then the leadership in our buildings is to our leaders to be interested in what we're doing in our classrooms rather than just, being there to say. You say in your book, Steve, the engagement effect, connection happens when students feel like contributors, not just consumers. And I really thought about that as far as leaders and educators, and that we like to contribute to the decision, even if we don't really have a lot of pull, as far as how the climate and the culture is in our building, but the leaders kind of coming in and understanding what's happening in our classrooms and kind of being a part of that and making those decisions together, having that space to feel connected.
I think it's so, what smart insight. I just had the line, but you just took it to the next level and made it so much better along the way. I think that once people feel like they can contribute, they feel like there's a door to open and connect. A connection, as we talk about in the book, is, I think, a super valuable thing. We talk about all the time, well, I'm connected. Well, I don't know what that really means. We've been in the workshop together where I have that little energy stick. It's that little toy that's a conductivity tester, right? And we hold it and you hold it and then we hold hands. And if we make a circle, the little stick goes off. And unless I'm touching your skin, that's a connector, it doesn't work. If I reach out and touch your sleeve, the conductivity tester doesn't work. This is an insulator. My skin is a conductor, insulator, conductor, right? I think that it's our job in that metaphor is to not just connect, but to really connect, to make sure that we've removed the insulators that allow this transfer of information. The energy stick doesn't work unless there's a flow. Engagement doesn't happen unless we're connected and there's an exchange of information. That's why it's so important to be more interested than interesting, right? I've got to have this exchange back and forth. And sometimes as a teacher, I know that we've said engagement isn't a gimmick, but there is some strategy. There are some strategies along the way. Sometimes as an educator or as a principal, we have to kind of feign ignorance. Once again, that whole idea of like, I don't really know what's happening. Can you help me out with that? What happens here? And it just opens that door for that kind of connection. My principal did it with me. I write about in the book for 11 years. I was so lucky to get to see her model it. And so thank goodness we have that kind of protege, that kind of, I could be her protege. So that kind of experience so that she could transfer some information to me and hopefully be able to pay it forward this way.
Within culture and climate, a lot of times, and we do this back and forth, Meg and I. Meg and I brings the teacher's perspective a lot of times. I bring the administrative perspective a lot of times when we talk back and forth. And when I work with school administrators, a lot of times, sometimes they give me that blank deer in the headlight look. They don't get it with the engagement piece. What do you mean? Well, I'm talking to them in the hallway when I walk by. I have a meeting. I have bullet points when I talk in a meeting, but they just don't get it. Is there anything that, you can kind of help those administrators, help those educators that says, you know what, I'm still not getting this. What is one thing that they can do to kind of spark that piece? And I know you talk about being more interested and then interesting. But are there other little things that administrators specifically, because I like to help those administrators kind of grapple this and kind of run with this to make sure that they have that engagement effect more consistently with the staff and the students?
Yeah, I wish that there was a prescription. And one of the things when we were writing the book is to try to go through and say, is there a formula? We went back and actually did looked at some of the research that had been put into engagement. And by and large, most of the engagement research that's out there is from human resource professionals who are trying to get people to work harder, come in earlier, stay later, put in more, be more productive, be more efficient with, and while I'm sure all of those things are fantastic, I'm looking at engagement from the standpoint of when a child or when a teacher just gets it. We've been talking about kids. Let's talk about teachers. We run a program in the summertime called Science in the Rockies, where we invite teachers from all over the country to Colorado for 3 days, similar to your great events that you do, your 3-day events that you do. And for me, what's fascinating is to see administrators and or teachers sitting there going through this. I get 3 days with them. So you know what it's like. It's that first hour. I don't know if I like him or not. I'm not sure if I like him. He did some clever things. He shot toilet paper, but I'm not sure if I like him. And then you start to see them unfold and unfold. And by the time they hit lunch, it's a chance for them to go connect with others, to come back and they're rejuvenated. By the end of the day, I can see in their eyes whether they're connected or not, whether they've kind of bought into this, what is happening here. And so part of that, I think, to your point, Steve, is just going into it open for a new idea, not going in with my 5 bullet points or whatever. What if we didn't have the 5 bullet points? What if you knew what the bullet points were, but what if you allowed them to come out organically? What if you tried to pull them out of the audience? You go, I think that's just one of your little tricks. And I have to look at you and go, oh, yeah, you're right. It's a presentation strategy. And that's why some people are really good at engagement and other people suck. And so if you don't do it well, can you get better? Of course you can, but you kind of have to want to in the first place. Let me give you an example and then I'll stop. Okay. I have 3 boys, and we would try to take them out to dinner to, when we're on the, like on a vacation on the road, one of those things. And you try to take them to no fast food restaurants, order from the real menu, not the kids menu. When somebody comes to the table, look them in the eyes. We don't play with phones. We didn't have phones back then, so that's good. But you understand what I mean. And the waiter or waitress would come, and I would always try to find something that I could kind of talk about. And many times it's a tattoo. I don't have any tattoos. My body is completely free of tattoos. I'm not against tattoos. I just don't have one. I'm fascinated by tattoos. And so I love it when somebody comes up and, hi, I'm here to take your drink order and such, and done. And you go, but by the way, hold on just a second. That little thing that you have right there in your arm, what is that? And sometimes they'll go, oh, it's nothing. But many times they'll go, oh, it's a bigger part. And they pull up the sleeve to show you something else and go, I know you're busy, but could you tell me, what is that about? And you all of a sudden start to see this wall that's broken down to go, oh, well, it's kind of a sad story. My dog died when I was 11 years old and I never forgot. And now all of a sudden this story comes alive. And it's almost like, would you, if we're promised to be good customers and we eat our food, would you tell us another part of the story a little bit later on? Because it looks like you've really worked on your sleeve. And you see what just happened there? My kids would look at me and go, Dad, you hate tattoos. I go, no, I didn't hate tattoos. I just don't have one, but I'm so interested in the story that's behind it. And if you're telling me that all I have to do is show interest in something like this to get another person to talk, I'm interested in connecting with people. That's what I'm interested in, not the tattoo. So I'd ask an administrator to do the same thing. Find things that are common connectors, not insulators, but connectors, to be able to bridge that gap, to make those meetings just super interesting and come away going, I didn't even know that. You've been on a staff before and you've been there for 20 years with another person. You had no idea that they are a hiker or that they love to fly fish or something, because we never open the space and allow people the chance to be able to connect, right? There's no capacity to connect.
And that's what it is. And I love that. It's that relationship, the ability to connect. And one of the things that I talk about a lot is the power of repetition, the power of doing it yet again, and yet doing it again, and yet doing it again. Because if you do something over and over and over again, it turns into a tradition, and a tradition is just, that's culture. The culture
Yeah.
is something that you could do over and over and over again, and it becomes that habit, and it kind of electrifies the whole environment and allows for that learning to take place. That is
And then they
absolutely
think that
wonderful.
it's theirs. You know, we have a
Yeah.
common mutual friend, Gary Brooks,
Yep,
the great
Gary.
principal, Gary Brooks. He talks about reculturing all the time, about taking these little things that all of a sudden become the gift exchange, or his classic signature story that he does. And he knew where he was going. This is interesting to me because he knew the start and you know the end. You just don't know what's going to happen in between. I was with my boys. Normally when we're on vacation, we'd always go to wherever daddy had a gig. And so it was like Muscatine, Iowa, Plaster City, California, you know, and Nebraska, Kansas, whatever it was. But this particular time we were in New Orleans, and a teacher had said, you should take him to Preservation Hall. And it's a birth of jazz, the home of jazz, and you should go. And so I remember going to the presentation, or going to we bought tickets. We're from Colorado, so we've never had like wet rain, hot rain. And so you're standing outside and it's kind of hot. We don't have hot rain in Colorado. It's cold. And so we're standing outside. It's kind of miserable, waiting to get in, thinking, I wonder if this is going to be good. We get in. It's a small room. My boys are in the front row. They put them in the front row, right up next to you musicians. At the end, I remember my oldest son going, hey, Dad, I could feel the trumpet player's breath on me. It was going on me. The air was going on me. I go, no kidding. These guys knocked us out of the wall. It was just amazing. At the end, they all got up and said, thank you very much for being here. And they're all older musicians. And we walk out, and thank goodness my boys shook the hands. It got to my point. I shook the gentleman's hand who looked like Louis Armstrong. Gentleman, it was as old, looked like Louis Armstrong, played the trumpet. I mean, so it couldn't be a dead ringer. And I just said, thank you so much. You gave me a gift tonight. Can I just ask you a quick question? You're a little bit older. You've been doing this for a long time. What keeps you coming back? Because I don't think that you have to do this all the time. Right. And he said, young man, I'd say it's the notes in between. And I said, you know, I'm not a musician. I don't know what notes in between means. And he goes, well, you know, every night I know where we're going to start and I know where we're going to finish because the drummer does this. He says, but I just don't know what we're going to play in between. And it's a feeling. And we play based on the audience and the energy you give us. And tonight, because you brought your family, the notes in between were real good. Thanks for being here. Isn't that amazing? He made it about me. It wasn't about me. It was about him, right? And I remember walking out going, if that's not a lesson for every teacher in the world, every administrator in the world, every manager, it's the notes in between. If you don't know what's going to happen and you're open to allowing this to happen, maybe we get to make, who knows, maybe we did help him make the notes. I don't know. You clap a lot and you hoop and you holler, and maybe it's that energy that you give somebody that truly changes the experience that's been cultivated for that other person.
I love that.
That is
and,
good.
You know, I'm gonna hit off of that, is that as a teacher, you know, you say it in your book, but I full-heartedly believe the crazier you are, the more engaged your students, and they learn so much more. Like I want to be the crazy teacher. And, you know, I left the classroom in May and I go in frequently to Kara's room and hang out with her third graders. And my pastor's like, there she is, there's Miss T. And I know they're thinking that's the crazy teacher. But you don't have to be outrageous to be interesting, right? You can do these to be interested in other people. And then, you know, thinking about our administrators and just leaders in general, being interested in other people and taking that and just letting the notes in between happen. And how much more fun we can have in life if we're just not trying to be so scripted all the time. And rule followers, if you will. You know, it's the world is not going to end if we didn't get through that lesson, or, you know, the points on your principal to-do list didn't get done. But if kids walk home, like you say in your story, the best day ever, and it's going to the dinner table. If teachers are coming home and talking to their husbands or spouses or friends about what's happening at school because of a leader, I feel like we've all won. I feel like we've all won.
You encapsulate it so well. And wouldn't it be nice, you know what happens when a group of teachers get together? It's just, sometimes it turns into this negativity. And I think that we can control that. I don't want to be that person to go, no, we don't speak negative, because there are things that happen that we want to talk about. But wouldn't it be beautiful to talk about, in class today, the kids, they couldn't, but we read chapter 3 of whatever, the Good Earth or whatever it is that you're, and they got so into the character, and they almost want, and then in their writing, they could hardly wait to write about this. And it has nothing to do with a science experiment. It's that what if mentality. And so to your point, to be crazy anymore is to be anything but boring. Right.
Yeah.
And you know what it's like, Steve, you're a professional speaker. Most of the time superintendents aren't all that great when it comes to public speaking. It's not their job. They lead in a different way. But many times they put themselves in a position where they do an hour and a half before we go on. And it can be a difficult kind of situation sometimes, but every once in a while you find a superintendent that just connects, that's just and different along the way. And you can see an audience like, whoa, what just happened here? Why? Because sometimes people get coaching. Sometimes superintendents get coaching to get to be a better speaker, because they know I can connect this way. This is a way for me to connect with my staff, to let them know this is what we're doing this. Wouldn't it be nice if a principal, and I got it modeled for me, if a principal said, first and foremost, my job is to make sure you as my teacher, you're okay. I want to make sure that you're well, that you feel good, that you're cared for, you're fed, you're all that kind of stuff, right? Number 2, it's really important that we teach the that the kids are safe, right? And they're in an environment where it can be a learning environment. Number 3, it's kind of important, I guess, that we teach them something. So let's talk about the curriculum a little bit. And number 4, let's talk about whatever. But it was first and foremost, the teacher's number 1. Take care of yourself first. Make sure the kids are safe. Number 2, teach them something. Number 3, teach them something. All we have to do is take this out of our pocket, and this silly thing right here has got all the information we need. It was Dr. 𝙀𝐿𝐐𝐾𝐼𝐵 Cobain that said, if all you have is information, they use and discard you. If what you have is knowledge, they only come to you when they need you. But if what you have is wisdom, they respect you. And wouldn't it be nice to have a principal who we consider to be wise, and many of us do, or we have had that person, because they didn't have to stand there and beat it over our head that this is the way it is. We just knew through their actions that they were wise, that they looked to other people, making sure that they're not the smartest person in the room. They could very well be the smartest person in the room, but my principal, Dr. Dina Tarleton, never told us she was the smartest person in the room. We just knew it when it came to certain things. But she always turned to us for guidance and for our perspective. And then we knew that when she made a decision, she was serious about that decision, and we would follow, because that's the culture she created. She invited us to engage. We wanted to, and then we were in. One way or another, we were in, because that was the plan that was set forward.
Yeah. And that's what it's all about, is creating that safe environment so that teachers feel like they can engage. They can be the crazy. They're allowed to do those things, and it's not so scripted. And that starts from the top and setting that environment. And then the teachers feel like, you know what? Hey, I know I can do that too. Boom, you go forward with the students with it. And then students feel comfortable. You know what? I'm going to do a little bit more myself. Imagine that. So that's absolutely perfect. That is what it's all about. Man, I love this. I love your book, The Engagement Effect.
Oh, you're so
This
nice.
is wonderful. This is wonderful. This talks about everything that Steve, look, we both of us got ours. Meg's just tabbed up. I got mine figured up. So, but this is what it's all about. It's about develop that engagement, and really moving people forward to making education what it really needs to be. That's what it's all about. I work on culture and climate and developing that environment with that engagement, connection with people. I love it. I absolutely love it, Steve.
Well, you're so kind. Honestly, for your audience, so you know, I went into this. I go backwards. This is my 10th book. The first 9 books were all science experiments. So as we would say, set it up, blow it up, clean it up. That's my job, right? So that's pretty much, I wrote the books about that. People seem to like it, so that seems to work fairly well. But it was at the suggestion of other speakers. What, Steve, you hang around other speakers? Yes. Through the National Speakers Association, we all hang out at the National Speakers. And some really good friends said to me, I just don't know why you haven't done a book about the things that you share on stage. And you go, what do you mean, the sulfur hexafluoride? And I go, no, not vinegar, baking, none of that. The things that you say, those things in between the experiments, words of wisdom. And I go, I don't really have words of wisdom. And they go, well, if you just write them all down, maybe something would come of it. And it took a little bit over a year to persuade myself that I should probably do it. It was one of those moments going, I got to get this thing done. Another year to write along the way. We thought we were going to call it Best Day Ever. One of the signature stories inside is a story called Best Day Ever. And it was funny. Simon & Schuster said, but yeah, I don't think we should call it Best Day Ever because nobody's going to get Best Day Ever. And so we really sat there and went through it. And it was by accident, kind of, it's like, well, what we're trying to do is teach this engagement effect so that people can have a Best Day Ever. And they went, whoa, wait, what did you say? Well, the engagement effect, what happens when people lean in, they want to participate, and they're like, oh, I think that's it. And so I didn't know it before, but I didn't realize that there really is kind of that piece. And as a teacher, we know when it happens. We know when that student, you see the transformation in their eyes. And directly from the book, we say activities are transactional, experiences are transformational. And an experience is not a one-way street. Back to at the very beginning of the interview when we talked about being connected, it's not a one-way street. That's why I had made sure that you had a soda sitting on your side as well. If you just see me shake up the can, tap it, and open it up, and it doesn't explode, you're like, he just did a trick. But you did it. There was a sense of, uh-oh, we're connected through a couple thousand miles, and they're going to open up that can of soda, and it worked. And so it's that idea of being connected through that. And when we cultivate, we don't create an experience, but when you cultivate an experience, you leave room for them to react and to contribute their part of it. And as we share a couple stories in the book, you'll see that there's some pretty poignant moments in my life going, I thought it was about me. That's the narcissism coming in. I thought it was about me. And I realized when we teach, it's not I, it's we. And sometimes you have to set it up, cultivate it, and step away, and you never get to see this kid swing, right? You never see him get to hit the ball. You never get to see that because that's okay. It's all part of this longer idea that we're setting a child up for success by helping them find their spark.
That's it. Beautiful, beautiful. Well, hey, I'm excited about it. I am so glad that our fellow speakers talked you into going forward to doing this because this is what is necessary in schools and just so many different organizations. I mean, yeah, we're all about K-12 education, but there's so many different organizations that that are out there that really need to have that understanding. And I love the title of it, Engagement Effect here. This is absolutely perfect. And
thank you.
You can get it anywhere, right? Yes, we can get this absolutely all the different places.
You can. So you can find it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble if you want to do that. If you also want to get it like a signed copy, we're doing it at the same price that you can kind of find it there at Barnes & Noble, but we'll just send it to you signed. And so if you go to stevespangler.com, there's a little piece right there that just says buy the book. And so if you'd like to have a signed copy, I'd love to send you one that way as well. And so any way that you want to get it, I don't know, buy a photograph copy. I don't really, whatever happen, just whatever you need along the way. I'd love to have you pick it up and maybe experience a couple of things there. Maybe Megan will tell you that as you go through it, it's not the same kind of experience. We wanted it to be engaging. And so how do you do that without being totally tricky in a book? And I think we might have found a couple ways that we'll talk to Megan and to Kara about as well.
Yeah, I ignored my family for a solid few hours about this book. And let me say this too also, is that I think you say something, Steve, to the effect of anything worth doing is worth overdoing. I think the next book, I think this is worth doing again. So if you have any more to that.
You're so kind. Carly Reed, the amazing Carly Reed, has been with me for 22 years as my manager and agent. She's behind the camera right now looking, and she's looking at me going, the next book, and she's just going, this one was hard enough. Let's just kind of get through life a little bit. So you're very kind to even think about that. It's so funny you kind of pour everything into it. But you know how you're both just very successful authors, and so you know all about it. I'm just late to the game with the kind of books that you've been creating for a long time.
That's it. That's perfect.
Hey, thank you so much, Steve. I think that every leader, whether you're in the classroom or running a school or out in corporate, running a business, you need to have this book and just be interested in others and make that connection, giving time and space for that.
You're so kind. If you open it up to page 126, it'll catch on fire as well. So just don't read page 126 and then everything will be okay. Just don't read that and everything will be fine. Got it? And whatever you do, do not look at the QR codes in the book, nor should you look at the videos, and don't look at the pictures in the middle of the book. Whatever you do, do not do that. All right?
Of course, of course. Hey, Steve, man, thank you so much. This has been an amazing conversation. I love the connections with the engagement effect. I love what it is that you're doing, and we need to connect some more. We really, really do. Both of us are part of NSA, National Speakers Association, and we connect with a lot, same people, but we're in that K-12 space, and I just appreciate you, and thank you so much for being a guest on our show.
Thank you. I'll be your warm-up act anytime. You just let me do the warm-up. The headliner, Mr. Bowler, comes in. Megan, Dee Dee, and Carriage, they go in and they do their thing. I'll be your warm-up any day of the week.
Oh, that's the best. All right. Thanks so much, man.
Okay. Steve Bowler doesn't give typical student assemblies. From the first moment, students are dancing, laughing, participating, and fully engaged. No sad stories. No long lectures. Just a powerful, positive experience built around his signature stand tall philosophy. His rallies build energy and plant seeds of confidence that ripple through a school's culture.
First thing that needs to happen is stand tall through it all. Do your very best and have a good routine every day. Second thing, it's not about what you wear, it's how you carry yourself. Third thing to stand tall through it all, to do your best, it's all about teamwork. It's about working with other people.
Your students deserve this. Your school needs this. Are you ready to stand tall?